मौजूद हूँ। अभी यहाँ पे थोड़ी ही देर में वॉश क्लस्टर की इंफॉर्मेशन मैनेजमेंट की ट्रेनिंग शुरू होने वाली है। आइए इस मीटिंग की मुकम्मल कार्रवाई का जायजा लेते हैं।
We have conducted this training particularly for the purpose of collecting information from all the WASH cluster members because we have been facing this problem for so many months that we are not regularly receiving information from our different partners, and in that regard we have requested our colleague from UNICEF, Duckworth, and he very generously accepted our request, and we welcome him as well. He's from UNICEF, Duckworth, specifically dealing with information management. He will introduce himself, and we will start our proceedings with our introduction. My name is Islamabad, mainly dealing with cluster coordination and belongs to UNICEF, Inshallah.
My name is Kim. I will talk more about myself afterwards. I work for the UNICEF WASH team in Islamabad, and I'm an information manager.
My name is Islamabad. I am from RID.
Muhammad Irshad Khan, Muslim Hands International.
My name is Ghazi Khan and I am working as an enemy officer with IDC.
Parents Treatment Program Coordinator ICDA. Amna Yani, Principal International Australia.
My name is Burhanul. I am working as a Deputy Program Manager of
My name is Zahir Ali and my designation is Project Officer, Flower Organization Peshawar.
My name is Latika and working as a Program Manager.
Shall I start? First, thank you for inviting me to come to Peshawar. It's a beautiful day to travel up from Islamabad, and Peshawar is looking gorgeous today. And also thank you for all of you for taking the time to come here to this session. I know that many of you will probably have had to have travelled some long distances to come here. Do we need translation? No? We're sure? Everybody's happy with me speaking English? I am from New Zealand, so I hope that my accent is okay for you. I know that most Pakistani men, when they know New Zealand, only for the New Zealand cricket team. I have many Pakistani men want to talk to me about the cricket team, which does well some days and very badly other days. Before I came here, I was told that the WASH cluster in FATA was very well organised. It was a very tight, well organised group. So I think we are already seeing that. And flexible. Adaptable.
No bad names.
No bad things. Okay. What I'm going to show you is the 2013 WASH Emergency Response 4W. This one is replacing the one that was developed in September 2012. And the reason that we are replacing the one that was developed in September 2012 is because that one was not working very well. We had tried it for 3 or 4 months and we were having a lot of problems with the quality of the data that was coming in on it. And when I say we have tried it, we tried it in the monsoon affected areas. So it was being used in Sindh and Punjab and Baluchistan, and when we looked at the data we were getting back in on it, we had so many problems with the data that we thought we needed to improve it. So we have developed a 2013 version which specifically aimed at addressing the problems that we had with the 2012 version. Sindh, Baluchistan and Punjab, we have we have already introduced it, this 2013 version, in these free provinces, and they are already using it to varying extents. So I'm here today to introduce it in KP FATA in the hope that we can get all 4 provinces providing compatible information that we can look at and compare easily and use the same tools, create the same reports, the same summaries, that sort of thing. And I think you'll see that quite a lot of work has gone into the 2013 version. So I will go straight into, normally I spend a lot of time explaining what the problems were with the 2012 version. But my understanding is that you have not been filling in the 2012 version, is that correct? I do not have to tell you what you were doing wrong, because you weren't doing it at all. Is that correct? Yeah? Nobody was filling in the 2012 version?
Was filling, but up to very minimal extent.
Okay, well I'm not going to spend 45 minutes telling you what was going wrong with the 2012 version if you're never going to use it. So I will go straight into the 2013 version.
Like most of the senior management is basically involved in the filling out the code and the matrix. That's why all of you guys maybe like unaware of the.
Okay. Okay. We're not looking to look backwards in the past for why things weren't filled out then, but we are hoping that if I at least give you the this training now, then you have the possibility of filling it in. Yeah. One thing I would suggest to you, even in the terrible event that you feel you are not going to fill it in regularly and provide it regularly, please experiment with it anyway, because you never know when the next emergency will hit Pakistan, and when that next emergency hits, you may decide then that you want to start filling it in, and the time to train yourself in how to do it is now, when there is a bit less pressure. It's a bad plan trying to teach yourself anything new when the emergency is going hard. Okay. This is what the 2013 WASH Emergency Response 4W looks like. It has 3 pages. One which is called README, one which is the 4W, and one which is called Analyses. The README page is a page of instructions, and we have tried, I'm not going to go through and read out all the instructions to you, you can look at them yourselves, but we have tried to phrase the instructions in a helpful way. The 2012 4W, one of the problems it had was the instructions seemed to be written by a computer person for a computer person. So we have gone through and tried to change the instructions to make them a bit more obvious. And you will see that there's a specific set of instructions for water trucking, and there's another set of instructions for everything else. That is because we want you to fill in the data for water trucking very slightly differently from what you are doing for everything else, if you do it. And I will talk more to the difference when I come to the actual form. Okay. Down below the instructions, there's a set of example data. So we have 2 sets of example data, two sets of good example data. This set of good example data is good example data for water trucking, and this set of good example data is good example data for not water trucking. It was for distributing hygiene kits. So that's the example data, this white row, and the green text explains what that white row means. So again, I don't want to waste your time by just reading it all out. So you can look at that yourselves afterwards. Below the two good examples, there are two bad examples. So the two ones in red are examples of data that has problems, that has something wrong with it. And the text in the box here explains what's wrong with it. So that's how the instruction page is laid out. It has some text telling you what to do, then it has two good examples, then it has two bad examples. I'm going to switch page and I'll come on to the 4W page itself. The 4W page is where you're going to enter your information. And I'm just going to zoom out a bit so that you can see how big it is. Oh, you can't see anything when I zoom out that far. But I think it is now 30 columns, maybe 32. I can't remember. It's around that. It's about 30 to 32 columns of information. That's less than it used to be. It used to be 38 columns of information. We've dropped some columns. We've made it smaller to try and encourage implementing partners to provide the information. We've deliberately tried to create less work for you. You know, normally people are always adding more columns. We've deliberately taken columns out to make it easier for you. Not only have we taken columns out, but we've also created 3 columns. I don't know how easily you can see them, that are coloured grey. That one, and that one. That the computer automatically fills in for you. So when you put in, or when somebody puts in that the project owner was UNICEF, the computer automatically fills in that UNICEF is a UN organisation. It didn't used to do that in the 2012 version. When somebody puts in that the implementing partner was SSD, the computer automatically fills in that the SSD is an NGO. And when somebody puts in that the activity they were doing is tube well construction, the computer automatically puts in that the thing that you count for tube well construction is number of wells. So we've made it smaller, and for all of the things that was possible, we've had the computer fill it in where we could. The data that you're seeing here in front of you is the data that I have been provided with from KP FATA so far. I'm sure this is not complete, but this is just these, there's not very much of it. These, I think it's 14 or 15 lines of information are the 14 or 15 lines of data that I have been given so far. What does this get used for? I don't just want you to, I need to explain to you what this information gets used for. When it gets to back to Islamabad, to the WASH section in Islamabad, it's used for a variety of things. It goes to OCHA for one, because OCHA consolidates 4W information from all of the clusters into one whole of country all cluster report, which they then publish on the website. So it goes from you, the IPs, to the provincial cluster coordinator or provincial cluster information manager. I don't know if there is one. There is one? Okay, so it goes from you, the IPs, probably to the provincial cluster information manager. From that person to me, the Islamabad WASH information manager, and then from me to OCHA's information manager, and they then compile that from all of the clusters and put it on their website. So it's used by OCHA. It's also going to be used for reporting back to donors. For example, DFID is funding a lot of the work that's going on in some of the camps here in FATA, and DFID has said to the cluster coordinator, or certainly to UNICEF, we want you to provide us with monthly reports of progress, and we will use the data that you provide to the cluster information manager, that he provides to me. We will use that to create the reports that go to DFID. Okay, so we will use that as part of that process. It will also be used in UNICEF's monthly, or if things get, at the moment it's monthly, but if the emergency picked up, it would become two weekly or weekly. SIT reps. So UNICEF publishes a SIT rep at the moment every month, but it can be in every week once an emergency is high amplitude. In those SIT reps, we use this information as well. And it can be used in cluster reports. I have had, you would have known Benya, who left last Friday. Benya Edo, who was the National Cluster Coordinator. Benya left last Friday to go to Syria, but the National Cluster Coordinator also writes cluster reports, which we use this information in. So that's at least 4 places where this information can get used. And towards the end of this talk, I'm going to give you another reason why you should do it yourself as well. But for purely, I will get there. And we'll save that to the end. Okay, so between 30 and 32 columns, I can't remember, that you have to fill in. And I said have to fill in, but I'm going to go backtrack one step. In the instructions, up here, I'll blow them up a little bit so you can see it. In the instructions, we quite clearly state there are 9 priority columns, and we tell you what they are. In the past, we've asked you for everything. We've said fill in all 38 columns. The 2012 one had 38 columns. We're trying to be more pragmatic. We know that when an emergency's on, the last thing you feel like doing is filling in a 4W. So not only have we reduced the number of columns, but we've also said if you're so rushed that you only have a few minutes to put into this, these are the most important 9 columns that you should fill in. So there are 32 columns, but we've identified which ones are the most important ones as well. And the most important columns to fill in are the ones with a bold yellow heading at the top of the column on the 4W page. So there, project owner is bold yellow, activity type and activity description, the project status and the project end date, the province and district, the total target, that's the number of individuals that you want to reach or that you plan on reaching, and the total reached. So those are the 9 priority columns. If you don't have time to fill in anything else, just give us those 9. Those are the ones that get used most. And those are the ones that, for instance, I know that OCHA uses the most. I'm being a little bit naughty because I know that in reality, I know that all of you will also fill in your own names under implementing partner. so I haven't bolded it, but I know that you will provide it to me. Okay. Some of you, when I was scrolling across, may have noticed some yellow boxes popping up. I realise, as I said, this 4W is trying to be very pragmatic. We've made every effort to be pragmatic. I realise that normally you will not switch between the 4W page and the instructions page. There's very few people that will go back and read the instructions page. So, if you take your mouse cursor and drift it over the column heading, instructions will pop up. It's a bit hard to, the projector is chopping off the end of the instructions. On your computer screen on your desk you will see the full instructions. But when you drift your mouse over this column heading, you will get instructions pop up telling you what should be in that column. Okay? So you don't always have to keep going back to the README page. So that one there